I never would have believed that a single night could dismantle 2 decades of love, trust, and companionship. But life has a cruel way of throwing unexpected twists just when you think you're secure. Emma and I had been together since our early 20s, building a life filled with laughter, memories, and shared ambitions. From purchasing our first home to raising 2 wonderful children, we faced every challenge together, or so I had always thought. Emma had always been the adventurous one between us. She thrived on new experiences, loved meeting people, and constantly pushed boundaries, while I found comfort in stability and routine. Her vibrant energy was something I had admired for years, but even the brightest flames can spark fires you never see coming. Early in our marriage, we had joked about the idea of a hall pass, a one-time, guilt-free night with someone else. It was the kind of playful banter couples indulge in when everything feels unshakable. Just one free pass, she had teased with a mischievous grin, but only if it's Idris Elba. I had laughed, brushing it off as harmless fun. After all, trust and love were the foundation of our marriage, weren't they? But a few months ago, those words came back to haunt me. At first, the changes in Emma were subtle. Longer hours at work, more frequent nights out with friends, and a newfound protectiveness over her phone. I dismissed it at first. We were both busy with our own lives, and I didn't want to be the paranoid husband. But then the little things started to stack up. A sudden obsession with fitness. A new wardrobe. A glow that didn't seem to come from our life together. Something felt off. One evening, as we lounged on the couch watching TV, she casually mentioned a coworker's birthday party. "Nothing big," she said while scrolling through her phone. "Just a few drinks with colleagues. I won't be out late." Her voice was light, but the way she avoided my gaze sent a quiet unease curling in my gut. I forced a smile and nodded, but the knot in my stomach only tightened. On the night of the party, she looked stunning. She wore a sleek black dress that hugged her figure in a way that made my breath catch, paired with heels she hadn't worn in years. She looked like the woman I had fallen in love with, yet there was something distant about her, like she was dressing for someone else. "You look amazing," I said, trying to push away the uneasy feeling gnawing at me. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks," she replied, grabbing her purse. "Don't wait up." The hours crawled by as I sat in the living room, pretending to watch a movie while my mind raced. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Then my phone buzzed, a message from Emma. "Having a great time, don't worry. Love you." It should have reassured me, but it didn't. The words felt hollow, like they were sent out of obligation rather than affection. Midnight came and went, and she still wasn't home. I called once. No answer. Twice. Straight to voicemail. A third time. Nothing. My heart pounded as my thoughts spiraled. Maybe she lost track of time. Maybe her phone died. Maybe. I exhaled sharply, refusing to let my mind go there. When she finally walked through the door at 1:30 a.m., I was waiting. Her cheeks were flushed, her hair slightly tousled, and her eyes glowed with a spark I hadn't seen in years. "You're still up?" she asked, surprised. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. "How was the party?" There was the briefest pause before she answered. "It was fun. Just the usual office gossip and bad karaoke." She kissed me lightly on the cheek before heading upstairs, leaving me sitting there with a storm of suspicion brewing inside me. In the days that followed, the distance between us only widened. Emma seemed happier, but not in a way that included me. She was distracted, constantly checking her phone, staying late at work more than ever. Then, one night, as she showered, I found myself staring at her phone on the bedside table. I had never been the type to invade her privacy, but the doubts gnawed at me, relentless. My hands trembled as I picked it up and unlocked it using the passcode I had known for years. My breath hitched as I opened her messages. And there it was, a string of messages. Texts between Emma and someone named Adam. My stomach twisted as I scrolled through their exchanges, inside jokes, late-night confessions, and then the one message that shattered my world. "Last night was incredible. I can't wait to see you again." It felt like the ground had crumbled beneath me. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was reading. Was this the so-called free pass we had joked about all those years ago? Had she actually taken it seriously? My hands trembled as I set the phone back down, my breath shallow and unsteady. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring into the darkness, unable to think, unable to move. All I could do was wait for her to step out of the shower and face the truth. When Emma finally emerged, she looked relaxed, her damp hair cascading over her shoulders, her robe loosely tied. But the moment she saw me sitting there, the phone still clutched in my hand, her smile faltered. "Is everything okay?" she asked cautiously. I swallowed hard, inhaling deeply in a desperate attempt to steady my voice. I held up the phone, my fingers shaking. "Who is Adam?" The color drained from her face. For a long moment, she said nothing. The silence stretched between us, widening like a chasm, each second driving the knife of betrayal deeper into my chest. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think, Ben." I let out a hollow, bitter laugh. "Not what I think." So, last night was incredible doesn't mean exactly what it sounds like. Don't insult me, Emma. She lowered herself onto the bed, hands clasped tightly in her lap, her expression filled with regret. Or was it just guilt? "It was a mistake," she murmured. "A one-time thing. It didn't mean anything." Her words slammed into me like a sledgehammer. The woman I had loved and trusted for 2 decades was sitting in front of me, admitting to something I never saw coming. A mistake. My voice rose despite my best effort to contain my emotions. "Emma, we've been married for 20 years. We've built a life together. A family. And you threw it all away for a mistake." Her eyes welled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were for me or for herself. "We talked about this, remember?" she pleaded. "Years ago, we joked about a free pass. I thought." She shook her head, voice breaking. "I thought maybe it was okay. That it wouldn't hurt you." I stared at her in disbelief, her words slicing through me like a blade. "You thought it wouldn't hurt me?" My voice was raw with anger and heartbreak. "How could you even think that? How could you believe I'd ever be okay with this?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I'm sorry, Ben," she whispered. "I really am. I wasn't thinking. It just happened." I got up and started pacing, trying to process the mess she had made of our lives. "Who is he?" I finally demanded. "Someone from work," she admitted, eyes downcast. "But it's over. It didn't mean anything. It's done." She looked at me desperately. "Please, Ben. Can we move past this?" Her voice cracked, her expression pleading. But I had no words left to give her. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every moment of our marriage. Every promise. Every memory. Every plan for the future. And then Adam. The texts. The betrayal I could never undo. By morning, I couldn't bear to be in the same house. I left before she woke up, needing air, space. Anything but the walls that now felt like a prison. I drove without a destination until I ended up at my best friend Mark's house, the only person I felt I could turn to. He answered the door, bleary-eyed from sleep, but the second he saw my face, his expression shifted. "Ben, what's wrong?" he asked, stepping aside. I sank onto his couch, my hands still trembling as I told him everything. He listened silently, his face shifting from shock to anger to quiet sympathy. "Man, I'm so sorry," he said when I finished. "I can't even imagine what you're going through." I nodded, staring at the floor. "I don't know what to do, Mark. I love her, but I don't think I can ever forgive her for this. How do you move past something like this?" He sighed, rubbing his hands together before leaning forward. "I don't know, Ben. That's something only you can decide. But whatever you do, you're not alone. I've got you." The days that followed were heavy with silence. Emma tried to reach out, texts, notes left on the kitchen counter, half-hearted attempts at conversation, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. Every time I looked at her, all I could see was betrayal. Finally, after a week of empty space between us, I sat her down and told her the truth. I can't do this, Emma, I said, my voice breaking. I can't look at you without seeing him. I can't trust you anymore. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she begged me to reconsider, but my decision had already been made. You made your choice, I told her. Now I have to make mine. The divorce was long, painful, and exhausting. Dividing up 20 years of shared history felt like tearing pieces of myself away. But as difficult as it was also freeing. Because staying would have meant living in the shadow of her betrayal, and I refused to do that. I deserved better. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding. I leaned on the people who truly cared about me, rediscovered passions I had let slip away, and little by little, started to heal. The pain of her betrayal didn't vanish overnight, but it became lighter to carry. I learned to let go. Not for her, but for me. And in the end, I realized something important. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away.